I'm going to say something that you likely won't believe, but is absolutely true. You and I and everyone can experience peace in any circumstance, at any moment of our lives. I know. It probably exists for you as like, I know someone can do that, but I can't. Or I can't yet. Or I don't know that I'll ever be able to. It's absolutely possible, and you don't have to become a monk in order to be able to do that. How do we do this? This is the key. By becoming aware of the unshakable connection to ourselves, to the truest, highest aspect of ourselves, not the personality, not the emotions, not the thoughts, not the body of what we think we are, but to that aspect of ourselves that is absolutely unshakable, that is always in existence, that never shifts, that is completely still, and that ultimately shines inside of our heart. So, how do we get there? Well, let's first take a few steps back. Number one, it's normal for uncertainty in our lives to trigger anxiety. It's normal. I would not say it's natural, but it is normal. When things are unpredictable and circumstances have happened to us in our past that have been unpleasant or that have been painful or that have turned out to seemingly make our lives more challenging, that naturally has us feel more anxious because we believe that that's going to be true again. And the way most of our brains function right now is that they are wired to predict circumstances in order to keep us safe. But those predictions are based on our past experiences, not from who we are creating ourselves to be now and who we wish to be in the future. So many of us resist uncertainty and fear the unknown because we've been trained to fear it, both from the outside world and both on our past circumstances. So here's the thing, resistance and peace cannot coexist, right? If we are resisting some aspect of our lives or the future or fearful, it's difficult for us to foster peace inside of that experience. But we also don't want to get into the game of resisting experiences, or what we like to call resisting resistance. We don't want to get into the game of resisting, I don't want to feel resistant, or I don't want to feel fearful, or I don't want to feel anxious. All of that not wanting to feel, I understand it. I don't want to feel anxious either. But if we get into this game of I just don't want this, then we start creating that and fostering our relationship with the anxiety or whatever it is, that keeps us stuck. So let's discuss how uncertainty can actually foster peace. So here's a little story of when I resisted uncertainty. It actually was in a step of becoming a monk, a celibate monk. So I've been a celibate monk for about 8 years now. I love it. This is it. This is the relationship I had always sought when I was from the age I was 12 until I was 37. Not being a monk. Let's just be clear. I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married to a woman. And from the age that I was attracted to women at the age of, 12, 13, something like that, until, into my 30s, that is what I wanted. And that is what I was working on creating. But they never worked out. I met and had relationships with amazing women, had amazing partnerships, actually. But they never worked out, and I couldn't figure out why. I did a lot of introspection. I went to therapy, but it just never worked. And somewhere inside, when I started this spiritual path about 17 years ago or so now, I knew that this was what I wanted and what was my destiny, somewhere inside. But there was this whole story, and understandably, there was this whole story of wanting something else, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that for me or for any of you for wanting whatever you want. And I also I knew at the core of my being that this is what really would bring me the most satisfaction in my life. But there was a lot of ideas and things that I wanted. And I had to play it all out. I had to go through those relationships and have those experiences, right? So there was a lot of uncertainty. in the knowingness of what I knew about myself deep in my core, that this was my path, the celibate path of being a monk. And there was a lot of fear about that. In the year leading up to when I took an initiation as a monk, I stepped away from the relationship that I was in. I was already a vegetarian. I wasn't using drugs and alcohol or anything at that time. And there was a lot of fear around, what is it going to be like? How am I going to live my life without all of these things? And how am I going to be celibate, right? How am I going to live this life of purity? How am I going to wear these clothes? And, am I going to shave my head? Am I going to grow? What is my life going to look like? How am I going to have a job? I need to have a job, right? So there were all these different fears around uncertainty that I had. And there was so much in my history of things not working out, especially in relationship, that had me fear that this was going to turn out the same way as the other relationships were. The relationship with myself as a monk was going to end in a way that was painful and sad and all of those things that breakups are, or ending of relationships are. And the same thing was going to happen. But I trusted myself. I trusted the people around me. I trusted my spiritual master to look out for me, to guide me, to help me. And I was dedicated. And I knew that with that dedication combined with the support that I had, that it was going to work out. So how do we apply these same kinds of principles to your life? You're not a monk, most likely. And you don't have the interest of being a monk, which is good for you. It's very challenging. It's glorious, but it's also very challenging. And it's not for most people. So what are the principles and what do we do to create this sense of ease, this sense of peace in a world that is uncertain? That there is anxiety that comes from all these different choice points that we have in our lives. So here's the first thing. Uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. The more that we can welcome and start to see and feel uncertainty as something that is a creation of other aspects of our lives, different directions our lives could take, and that those directions are going to be wonderful and make our life better, though it might take some discomfort, the more that we can practice that, the better, right? So uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. Remember this. If we're not sure what's going to happen, notice how we are infusing fear and doubt into that possibility and infuse other qualities. The knowingness that this is going to make it better somehow. Number 2, our emotional resistance to the uncertainty, or our emotional resistance to the anxiety of, I don't want to feel this way. All of that is okay, right? Just notice that it's okay to be having that kind of an experience. And what we want to do is we want to shift our relationship to uncertainty by parenting our anxiety. We want to foster that aspect of ourselves that's just kind of like, it's okay. It's okay that I feel anxious. It's okay that I'm fearful of what's about to happen. It's okay. We want to create that relationship with ourselves where we can appropriately parent the aspects of ourselves that need guidance. Yes? And number 3, promote yourself so you become the one practicing the mastery of your system. All right, what does that mean? You practice creating yourself as someone who not only believes but knows greater things are coming. You aren't the anxiety, you aren't the resistance, you aren't the fear, you aren't the doubt. You are something beyond all of that, which you are discovering for yourself. You're discovering this new relationship with yourself that is going to lead you into the future that you want to have by your design, by your creation. And you can do that. So practice promoting yourself to the people around you by sharing what your new belief is, by sharing authentically that you have doubts about what's happening, but somehow inside you are starting to trust that this is going to be for the best for you. You don't know how, you're not really sure. And that's just going to create inspiration from the people around you. They're going to admire your courage. They might doubt you, or they might have their own ideas about their own life that they're putting onto you, but fine, right? Promote yourself. Establish yourself as that unshakable presence and dedication to you creating your life in the way that you actually want. right? So how do we practice this? Those are some principles. How do we practice this? Experience in yourself what stays the same when everything else changes. And the only way to do that is through stillness and silence. So just take a few moments right now. You can close your eyes if you wish. You can keep them open too, whatever you prefer. And take a breath in the stillness and in the silence. If you're moving around doing other things, no problem. Just take a moment. Take a deep breath and be as still as you possibly can. This won't last very long. And now notice how inside of you there is a stillness while everything around you moves. Your heart beats, your breathing most likely. Your body's probably moving just a little bit, and there is some aspect of yourself inside that is still. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for doing that with me. The more that you can come into relationship and spend time with that place in yourself, meditation is the best place I've ever found to do that. Sit in stillness and in silence. We will train ourselves just by doing that practice to foster the relationship with that aspect of ourselves that doesn't change. Now, what does that have to do with uncertainty and anxiety? Being in connection with that part of ourselves builds trust. It allows us to know that as things change and shift around us, like the weather, there is some aspect of ourselves, like a stone on a mountain, that doesn't change. And there's a solidity and a strength and a peace that emerges from fostering that relationship with ourselves, right? Number 2, the other practice. Expect better from the world, regardless of what the current experience is. So no matter what is happening in your life right now, foster the belief inside of yourself, the knowingness, you could even say, inside of yourself, that you don't know how this is going to make your life better, but it absolutely is. And lo and behold, that will get created for you. So practice that expectation that things are going to get better. And then every morning and every night, right when you wake up and last thing at night, be in stillness. If you want to make it even better, you can put your hand on your heart and feel your heart. If you want to add another layer to this, be grateful. Train your mind to be grateful, to be at ease, and to be connected to your heart. Your mind will settle, and the fear that you had about the uncertainty will start to dissolve, and your love will grow.